Hey, y'all, welcome to my channel. I'm Leslie Hooper,
I'm Steph Miramontes.
and today I want to invite you, Steph, to share your reaction to a video hosted by Dr. John Deloney. We've definitely reacted to his videos previously, but this particular one is a mother calling in to consult with him on how to manage her 11-year-old son's food obsession. And he's developed some tics when eating. And so John Deloney obviously provides some insight, but also some recommendations on how she should navigate this, some of which I don't necessarily agree with, but I'm curious to get your thoughts. So let's go ahead and get started. What do you think? You ready?
Let's do it.
So glad that you called. What's up?
Me too. So I'm trying to figure out what's going on with my 11-year-old son and food. He has some very weird behaviors. He makes grunting noises. He blinks rapidly, like almost like facial tics. He becomes fixated on food, always asking what the next meal is and when is it. He gets upset when I say no to eating extra desserts. I'm wondering if it's food scarcity issues, and I'm trying to understand how to walk him through this without shaming him. I'm not sure what the best way, like to point out the noises to him, or is that going to make him self-conscious? So I'm just trying to get clarity on what is really the root of his issues with food and how to walk it out with him.
Oh man, thank you. So you mentioned might be food scarcity related. Tell me more about that. Is there something in his past?
Yes, my ex-husband put us through financial issues constantly, and there were often times when we had a negative balance in our account and I couldn't buy food. I had no food.
Okay.
And so he remembers a specific incident when all I had was a potato and some cereal to give him. And he brought that up a couple of weeks ago and said, I thought you were just too lazy to go to the grocery store. He was around 5 when that happened, but he remembers it quite vividly. So I'm like wondering, is that what this is about? Is there something else going on? And what do I do?
Yeah. So man, there could be a bunch of stuff here. I'm going to take a stab at it, and I'm going to open this up to any therapist who listen to the show. And I hear from you a lot of you. I'd love for your thoughts too. Here's my guess. Just listening, just talking with you for a couple of minutes. Okay, Kelly.
All right, so I just want to pause there very briefly to get your first impression before we start to listen to Dr. John's prescription for her. First
Yes.
thoughts.
What I really appreciate about him is he basically said, I don't know. He's like, I'm going to take a stab at it, and I'm going to invite anyone who actually knows what they're talking about to come in and give some feedback here. I do think there is a bunch of things that could be happening there, but when she talks about food scarcity, our instincts are usually pretty accurate. If she thinks that's what it is, I would say that's probably where I would start. And, it's definitely, at least in part, that thing. Maybe there are other issues too. Maybe there are things to unpack as well, but it's definitely part of it from my perspective.
Yeah, and these conversations around littles and them feeling out of control around food or obsessing over food or secretly eating, I mean, there's just so much to unpack there. And I feel a lot of compassion for these parents because it can be confusing to know how to manage this. Like, you don't want to push your kid in the wrong direction and reinforcing this behavior, strengthening it. And then ultimately, we don't also want to just let it go unchecked. And there's not like a lot of information out there about these specific topics, I don't think. So I'm interested to hear what he has to say. But I mean, it's really tough situation for a parent. And I know these kind of topics come up with our own clients within our community quite a bit as well. And it's very challenging. So let's go ahead and see where he takes her.
Here's my guess. Just listening, just talking with you for a couple of minutes. Okay, Kelly.
Okay.
Well, before I give you my guess, let me ask one more question. Was there
Sure.
any abuse inside the home?
You would probably call it abuse. My husband yelled a lot. He
Okay.
would throw high chairs when he would get angry or whatever was around him. He never physically touched
Okay.
me or the kids, but he had a lot of anger issues.
Okay. How old's your little one?
Uh, my youngest is 6. And my one I'm talking about is 11.
11. Oh yeah, you told me that. 11. Okay. Okay. So, let me say that there's several things here. There's the grunting. There's the tics. There, which is often a body's way of just dealing with stress or with anxiety, right? And
Mhm.
so I don't overthink that.
Okay.
I use that as a symbol, as a signal to me, okay,
Okay.
of a greater internal distress.
Mhm.
So you have the yelling, you've got the food insecurity. Your son's got these, I'm going to call them stories, not memories,
Mhm.
because he's now creating a new narrative of what happened inside of what actually happened and
Mhm.
using that to reinforce his, you see what I'm saying? So it takes on a life of its own to where his
Mhm.
body is remembering these stories less that they're a play-by-play. And in a couple of years, he'll tell you another story and you'll think, I'm crazy. I was there. I know that didn't happen. And he will remember it as
Mhm.
vivid, right? So it's about story, right?
Okay.
Our bodies are, or our minds are story making machines, and they do that
Mhm.
on the back end of how we feel, right? So we have these feelings and our bodies make stories. And I think his body is responding to this. Is again, I'm just throwing this out there. I think his body is responding to a life of chaos,
Okay.
a life of I'm not safe, I'm not safe, I'm not safe. And let's just take him at his word. Dad was
Yeah.
throwing furniture around.
Yeah.
Dad was probably radioactive even when he wasn't throwing things around.
Mhm.
And somehow that narrative got transferred over to you, which is you're just too lazy to even get me food, right?
Mhm.
Or more importantly, and this is where I'm going to say this out loud: guilt is okay, shame is not okay here. Don't take this
Right.
on. But it's often it's not uncommon for a kid to ask, "Why didn't you get me out of there?" Or
Mhm.
"Why did this go on for so long?" And they don't understand economics. They don't understand. They just understand safety, and they look to you and say, that's your one job." And right. And so
Mhm.
and that now you have an 11-year-old. And you put on top of that, there were nights y'all went hungry. There were nights. So he has become fixated. He has become compulsive when it comes to food.
Right.
So our tendency is to pathologize the food. We're going to count calories. We're going to say, only this, you need some more protein in that meal. You need some more. I want to try a different approach. Okay.
Okay.
Now, I'm going to say this for a third time and I won't say it again. All you therapists out there, if you're listening to this going, no, you let me know, write in, and we will, I'll say, hey, I was wrong on this, and we'll change it on the show.
You can tell he definitely feels a little out of his wheelhouse with this particular subject. You know, it's very interesting to see how he navigates this conversation, but you can tell that he's not really clear if he's making the right recommendations. And that is scary because you can be misleading a parent and actually potentially making things worse, not better, even when you have the best of intentions. So I appreciate the caveat, the warning as well. And you know what? I really wish I would have spent some time going through the comments section because I imagine it'd be pretty interesting on this video.
What I want you to do. I want you to change his context, his relationship to you and to the entire food ecosystem. Here's what that means.
Okay.
Take him shopping with you and give him 5 things to pick out.
Okay.
Let him be a part of that process. And by taking him to the store, he's going to see how much food there actually is out there. And that
Mhm.
he has, what we're giving him is positive memories of an interaction with an adult who's safe now and
Mhm.
with food. And we're also giving him teeny tiny bits of controlled autonomy. You have choice.
Okay.
Okay. Let him cook with you, which I know is the worst. Right?
But
The
he loves
worst.
to cook. He
Oh,
loves it.
awesome. Buy him a couple of cookbooks not internet
Okay.
recipes. Buy him a couple of cookbooks or let him pick out a couple of cookbooks. What are you interested in? And read them with him. Lay on his bed with him and flip through the pages and look at them. We call them like, it's like food pornography, right? It's just like these glossy, beautiful, stunning photos of food that is not real, but it just looks so good. Lay on his bed with him there. Let him help you organize the fridge. Like,
Okay.
sit down, like, hey, where do you think the milk should go? Where do you think the egg should go? I want you to help me with this. We're going to model healthy eating. So it may be that we're going to get sweets out of the house. And you say things like, not Twinkies make you fat or chips make you. You say things like, when I eat chips, I don't feel good. My thinking gets cloudy. I just don't, my tummy doesn't feel good. And he might say, I think they're great. And you'd be like, oh, they taste so good, but I feel better when and then you've got to model it. Okay.
Okay. I'm going to stop there because I saw your facial reaction, ma'am.
We
And
were
that
doing
is where
so
healing's
good. We were doing so well. We were rocking and rolling. He was right on the path until he fucked it right up in the end. No offense, man. I think your content's great, but yeah, we're not getting sweets out of the house, and we're not like that will make it worse. That will make it worse. I am all for taking him shopping, creating new, abundant food experiences, letting him have autonomy, letting him have choice, letting him have a say on what goes on the table. You know what he's going to want on the table? A fucking cupcake is what he's going to want, and things like that. And you should let him have it. Bring those foods in, because the only way to teach people how to eat these foods and interact with them respectfully is through exposure. Yeah, conversation matters, modeling matters, but that's an extreme approach of saying get them out of the house and then say all these foods are shit. Now we're just saying, like, not only is food scarce, but the ones you like are bad. Something is wrong with you. We're creating more food scarcity, not less. That's not the way to go about it, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's how you create a kid who goes to a sleepover or a pizza party at school and eats until they're sick.
Yep.
Scarcity. And develop secret eating as a child is also very common. So he doesn't, but I will say, John Deloney has his own food challenges, which I appreciate. He talks about it all the time. And so his recommendations are not always what I would say are spot on, because he does have this belief system that get it out of the house, can't be trusted, which is so fascinating coming from a therapist, when you would think that they would recognize that maybe we need to change our thoughts or our ideas or our beliefs around these foods instead of just eliminating them from your environment, which is super unrealistic, because what is the long-term plan? To just never ever interact with donuts or fries or cheeseburgers? And like you said, kids internalize that these foods are bad, me eating them is bad, and then we are opening a whole ass can of worms. And frankly, this is how adults become dysfunctional dieters, as it starts in the home a lot of the time with these very recommendations or approaches to managing your kids' food intake. A lot of parents just projecting their own challenges with weight loss or food and navigating those rules and trying to protect their kids, but a lot of time it backfires, even though you can have the best of intentions. It comes from a really loving place.
I mean, we have clients on our group coaching calls all the time having to unravel their guilt for liking foods that they quote unquote shouldn't like, for feeling so out of control that they want to eat these foods and then shaming themselves and feeling like something is wrong with them because the foods taste good. And I'm sorry, when I have a handful of potato chips, I actually feel fine. If I ate an entire Costco-sized bag of them, I may not, but I can have some chips with my lunch and feel A-okay. I can have some dessert. I can eat a cookie. None of that creates GI upset or a tummy ache or that's a lie. Now we're asking her to lie to her kid about these foods so she scares him off of them and therefore turns into making him feel like he is broken because, well, his tummy didn't ache until he ate the whole fucking thing. Now it does. Like, it just reinforces this terrible narrative because you're not being honest, you're not being transparent. So, John, call us. We have a great program for you as well. We really help you learn how to trust yourself around these foods again. We make sure that you know how to interact with them respectfully and with kindness, so you're not afraid of them. They're not controlling you. Like, can I just plug the program for a minute? Here we are. You have got a problem. We got the solution.
Oh man, I have thought so many times watching some of his calls, like, dude, just let us get our teeth into you because we will change your entire perspective on all of these things because he's struggling with the same thing that our clients are. It's just kind of funny to hear him talk about it. Okay, well, let's go ahead and see where this goes from here.
So we're going to focus on mood and performance, not on body composition. See what I'm saying? I don't ever want him to feel like he's broken. And then I'm going to do this. I'm going to send you the questions for humans cards with the kids. And here's why.
Awesome.
I want you guys to slow down at family meals. And if you're not having family meals, that's all got to change. You got to, okay, good. You got to start doing that. But I want y'all to slow down. So maybe it's, as a family, we take one bite and then we put our fork down. And then we're going to answer one card. And that is, we're going to learn how to slow down. All of this is creating an ecosystem of safety. And this is my sideways way of getting you to slow down and be highly intentional and not being filled with guilt and shame. Because you are, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes. Okay. So I want you to take these tools as an entry point into a brand new relationship with your 11-year-old.
Okay.
Just a quick point here. How is slowing down going to remove guilt and shame? If that's a byproduct of judging, criticizing, feeling not good enough, I just don't see the connection. How is slowing down at the meal going to prevent those thoughts from surfacing or helping you not have shame or guilt?
It's not. I'm all for learning to be a slower eater. And I think you can slow down and learn how to enjoy the eating experience. And that can help erase some of the scarcity, I think. But one bite and then a card. Now we're just introducing more food rules. I understand, like, periodically, okay, everybody put their forks down. We're going to do a question. But everybody takes one bite and then a question. One bite and then a question. No, it's too much. It's too much. I can't breathe. I can't.
Yeah, John, this is where you lose us, dude. This is where you start to lose us. All right, let's continue here.
So I want you to take these tools as an entry point into a brand new relationship with your 11-year-old.
Okay.
And this is the hardest part. He knows that part of him is his dad too.
Right.
And that's going to haunt him. So he needs to know extra that he is loved and that he's got value and that he's smart and he's capable. And all of these things are a way to change the entire environment around food.
Okay.
Okay. I also know the lion's share of this falls on you, and you probably don't have a lot of free time. You probably don't have a lot of free extra money laying around. And I understand that this burden disproportionately is something you got to carry. Or if you heard me say everything, you called to ask, how do I help him have a better relationship with food and just stop being so anxious? And my answer was, you have to change your behaviors. See what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because he's just a kid absorbing that home. Ticks, quite honestly, unless they are, they keep him from having normal functioning. Like he is chirping really loud or he's grunting to the point that people in the restaurant are turning to look. I would give that a season, 60 days, 90 days, working on these other things and see if that doesn't begin to heal itself. If it doesn't, then it's time to go. You get to talk to somebody. So how does that all?
I think I'm more
how's that all sound?
worried about. It sounds amazing.
Okay.
I'm more worried about like middle school and kids making fun of him.
Absolutely, yes. And it's okay to say not at the table.
Okay. I don't even think he knows he's doing it.
Yes. And it may just be parental awareness. Hey, you're grunting at the table. What do you mean I'm
Okay.
grunting? You're making this noise. And it might just be somebody pointing it out to him in love. And you can do it with a smile on your face in a way that he knows it's not, I don't love you less. Just stop doing that.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
And here's another thing. It's okay to say no. He needs
Right.
to hear you say no and have healthy boundaries. So if he says, I need ice cream, and you say, we're not
Mhm.
having ice cream tonight. I'm the mom, and we're not having ice cream tonight. We'll have ice cream once a week on a special night if fill in the
Mhm.
blank happens. And he gets mad and throws a temper tantrum's upset. That's okay.
He does. He wanted 2 popsicles and I said no, and he got really angry.
That's right. That's okay. That doesn't mean you did something wrong. And
Right.
he has to, his anger's okay. He's allowed to get angry. He's allowed to have his feelings, but he
Mhm.
can choose to not have any more popsicles for the rest of the week if he says ugly things.
Right.
That's a choice he's making. You're not punishing him with food. You're saying, hey, if
Mhm.
you choose to yell and scream and say something ugly or throw something like his dad was doing, he learned this, by the way. You're
Yeah.
choosing not to have popsicles. Don't do that, because I love giving you popsicles. One of my favorite things.
Yeah, I can just see you over there.
I was looking for something I could throw, but it was going to be my makeup bag, and I decided against it because I didn't want to pick it all up.
Yeah. Well, expand.
No, none of this. None of this. Like we were on such a path. Well, I understand like the make sure your kid feels loved. I understand having the communication about, hey, not at the table, bringing some awareness and things like all good, all good. Even not having 2 popsicles, just saying like, hey, we're only doing 1 popsicle tonight. Totally fine. Here's where it gets messy. We start using food as a punishment and a reward, even though he said you're not using it as a punishment and reward. He proceeded to say how exactly we are doing just that by saying we're not going to do ice cream. We'll do ice cream once a week if this happens. If you get good grades, if you clean your room. Now we're earning food. We're earning the right to pleasure. And now we have put these foods back on the pedestal, back into scarcity, back into this instead of just letting them be food. No. Like, I understand parents have to control how much, how often, all the things. We have to model healthy boundaries. We have to communicate healthy boundaries. It's all great. And I was not parent of the year. I will tell you that. I parented my kids through my shittiest dieting days. But boy, oh boy, if I had a time machine, I will tell you that right now. Just get me right in it and change that shit. Thankfully, they came out more or less unscathed. I think there was probably some stuff that happened that they had to kind of work through, through their own life and growing up as young men and things. And I had boys, not girls, which is also an advantage for them. However, no, none of this. He is very much teaching her to teach him to have a lifelong battle with rewarding himself with food as a grown ass adult who cleans his room and then sits down on the couch with a pint of ice cream, frustrated and pissed off and wondering why he can't lose weight and why he loves food so much after such a long day, such a hard day. He's going to need it to unwind. That's a no. Mm-mm.
Well, and John even literally used the word special.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, you are talking out of 2 sides of your mouth here. Like, we're not going to use this as punishment or reward, but also we get ice cream for special occasions type of thing. And that's not what he said verbatim by any means, but that was kind of the message. It feels like
Very
we've
much
come full circle in this call.
Yeah, this one's a mess for me. I think that he comes from a beautiful place. I really super duper really appreciate that he's like, out of my wheelhouse. Somebody else come save me. I'm just taking a stab at it. I am going to offer that we don't take a stab at things that we have no idea. We refer out to people who are experts in the field, and certainly we don't put it on the YouTube for the rest of the world to be traumatized and traumatize their children against food.
And that's what I find really fascinating about this, because the guy has over 600,000 followers. There's no shortage of questions coming in. But I do think that because this is a touchy subject, maybe a bit controversial, it's going to get the clicks, it's going to get the views, it's going to get the attention. But I think I would respect him a bit more if he was just like, that one is a no for me.
Yeah.
What's next? You know? So
One thing I did appreciate that he said was this all starts with you. Fix your relationship with food, fix your behavior. This starts with you. That is something that we talk with our clients about all the time when they are so worried about their kids, but they're coming to us as clients trying to fix their relationship with food. And I'm like, honey, you heal you. I promise you it will make a difference. And if it doesn't, then we will work on some tools and skills and things that can possibly transfer, some ways to help you. And, of course, we can do that in parallel as well. But the most impactful thing you can do is fix you. I just don't like the way he's offering to fix her relationship with food if it mirrors the way that he's suggesting she fixes his.
Yeah, right. It always starts with the parents first and foremost. But I will say, and I don't want to, get too in the weeds on this particular topic, but many of our clients come to us to work on their own relationship with food, but still perpetuate their dieting rules and everything that got them into this mess onto their kids. I'm like, yeah, do you not see how the two are connected? Like, your kids' food doesn't need to be controlled in the way that you're trying to control it, because it's literally how you got here.
Yeah.
But it's fascinating how I don't know.
Cognitive dissonance.
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
I'll take cognitive dissonance for 400.
That part right there.
I just think that what people tend to believe is if they can work in the processed foods and they can work through them, then they'll never want them. And then they can teach their kids, see how I am this superior being, this healthy eater, this wholesome, and you should be too. And they'll know how to do it without having to worry about them gaining weight or whatever.
Like his dad was doing. He learned this, by the way. You're choosing not to have popsicles. Don't do that, because I love giving you popsicles. One of my favorite things. Right. Don't make that choice. And then he's going to see, hold my beer. I'll see if she's really telling me the truth. And then you got to decide, are you actually going to do that or not? Is that fair?
Right. Yes, absolutely.
I think that you can transform this entire relationship.
Okay.
I may be way out to lunch, and I'm okay with being wrong on this. If this was in my house, this is right where I would start.
Wow. Well, thank you.
Is that cool?
This is very helpful. Yes.
Steph, final thoughts.
I just don't know if I have anything else to say other than what I've already said. I think what my most important messages have already been said. This is not the way to do it. This is not if you want your kid to actually have a healthy relationship with food. The more you reward them with food instead of neutralize it, they are going to take this into their adult lives and struggle, because who has their back when they're adults? Themselves. And I have had many a client say, I deserve it though. Like, I sit down on the couch and I know I've just had dinner, but as soon as I turn on the TV, as soon as I try to unwind for the day, as soon as I try to relax, my brain just says, but you deserve it. Even though I'm not hungry, even though I'm telling myself no, even though that narrative is so well practiced because they've been told it since they were 5 years old. So yeah, this is not the way.
Yeah, it breeds entitlement, and this is literally how the habit of emotional eating gets started. Well, I think that is it for us today. That was a bit of a doozy. I did want to mention, go ahead if you are enjoying the reaction videos to we do it on YouTube. Like, subscribe, and hit the notifications bell. Yeah. Can you tell we're a little out of practice? Haven't filmed anything for YouTube in a few weeks. So we're back in the saddle though, y'all. Weekly videos will be rolling out. So stay tuned. That is it for us today. We'll catch you on the next one.